Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Midweek Moment, again live on the campus of Paz Naz. This last June, Jeff and I took a dream trip to Kings Canyon for an overnight backpacking trip. But when we arrived into the park, it was really late at night. We had been driving all day. We had a lot of things to do throughout the day, so it was late at night when we got there. And when we were driving through the windy roads of the canyon, I knew that we had to have been surrounded by beautiful mountains and trees and a raging river, but we couldn't see it because it was so dark. And so eventually Jeff pulled over the car because both of us just wanted to experience and see the grandeur and beauty of Kings Canyon National Park. We pulled over the car and turned off the lights, and after a few moments of focusing our eyes, we began to make out shapes of the canyon and the trees and the raging river running through the park, and it was beautiful. This last Sunday, as we continued our sermon series, Blessed, we took a look at the Beatitude when Jesus says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see." And one of the things that all want to see, to experience, to know, to feel God, the grandeur, the wonder, the beauty, the awesomeness of God. And Jesus says the pure in heart will see God. And one of the things that we talked about is this phrase, pure in heart, is a Jewish expression that we see throughout the Psalms. The pure in heart are those who have a single-minded focus on God, an undivided attention for God. It is those who wake up in the morning and they want to see, they want to know, they want to experience one thing and one thing only, God, with a single-minded focus and an undivided attention. But also, one of the things that we said is important for us to understand is having a pure in heart is not disappearing into a hermitage, away from the rest of the world, so that we can get rid of all distractions in such a way that we no longer see God. But the pure in heart is to actually live in God's world, in God's way, among God's people, with our affections, with our allegiance, with our focus and our hearts oriented towards God, not moving away from this world, but in God's world, with our hearts in tune with God's. And in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus has a discussion about what you must do to see God. And he says in this conversation, he says, "The king will come and say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world.' And he says, 'For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me.' And these righteous ones will reply, 'Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?' And the king will say, 'I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me.'" It sounds like Jesus is saying we can indeed see God, and we see God among the least of these. We want to see God, and Jesus says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Seems to me one of the places we can see God is among the least of these. That is, living in God's world, in God's way, among God's people, among the least of these, with our affections and our focus and our heart and our attention oriented towards God and all that we are doing. That's all for this week's Midweek Moment. See you on Sunday as we continue our sermon series, Blessed.